pan down.
These videos are a few things that we shot over the last several months. Jerry and I sat down and talked about the steps together, and we both come from different backgrounds, Al-anon and AA, and we both have different hurts, habits, and hang-ups, and we both have different takes on the 12 steps. But one of the things we want to do is bring hope to other families, that you can recover, you can get well, and that those little people who are affected by all that you do and say can get better too. And this is our mission, is to share with other people that we can do it, that the whole family can recover and the whole family can be well. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure and subscribe above.
My name's Jerry. I'm a grateful believer. I struggle with perfectionism and camera angles, chemical dependency, and being not directly in the middle of the frame. This is my wife, Tanya. You want to introduce yourself?
We are struggling with camera issues. We had people over for dinner and we're a little late in getting started. So we are struggling just a little bit with camera issues, and we had intended to do this on every Monday night to bring you a step. So this is Tanya with the Joyous family, and I am a grateful believer too in Jesus Christ, and we are here to talk about step 2, which is...
I came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Or in Celebrate Recovery, we say, came to believe that God could restore us to sanity. And just to be clear, God is a power that's greater than ourselves.
Right.
Oh, neat.
Okay.
That's a really... She got a still frame shot of me. I looked really...
We both look pretty awful. Anyway.
Sorry, I'm distracted. So we're here to talk about step 2. And if anybody wants to comment along the way or ask a question, that's fine. We will not say your name.
We will not say your name, but you do show up. So if you want to email at Tanya, Tanya, at the Joyous Family, we could pick it up there, because we do really believe in anonymity, because...
Gosh, what's the tradition? How's it go? Being the anonymity, being the... I'm going to get my book. Give me a minute.
So we're talking about step 2. We talked about step 1 last week, and we were trying to do this every Monday. We're having a little trouble staying on schedule, but we're doing it anyway.
Ooh, the long form traditions. Let's go to this.
Okay, you're not in the frame.
Sorry.
We need to be able to edit this like nobody's business.
All right. But we may employ alcohol. No, that's not the one. Which one is it?
So
This is 12th. Did you know that was the 12th tradition?
And
we of Alcoholics Anonymous, or CR, or whatever, believe that the principle of anonymity has an immense spiritual significance. It reminds us that we are to place principles before personalities, and that we are actually to practice a genuine humility. This to the end that our great blessing may never spoil us, that we shall forever live in thankful contemplation of Him, with a capital H, who presides over us all.
Sure, let me show. No, don't show it. I need to know how to spell anonymous.
Oh. Well, here you go. Boom.
Okay, so
cover.
talk more about anonymity.
Yeah, anonymity can sometimes be somewhat of a tightrope to walk, because, especially in a small town, first of all, you know, like in Grand County, when I went clean and sober, it's not like I was fooling anybody that I was, you know, partying. In Grand County, it's just kind of hard to keep a secret like that. So anyway, as far as, especially the newcomer, they tend to be very fragile in regard to anonymity, and rightfully so. Or if they're of a very high social strata, or if you know, maybe they have family that's in the clergy or politics. They got, you know, this kind of stuff could be problematic to not just them, but to those that they love and care for. So just as a general rule of thumb, we remain anonymous at all levels of our interactions. We tend to introduce ourselves as a first name, but this is all optional, up to the person. And actually, the original tradition says at the level of press, radio, and films.
I thought it was always first name, though. This is Tanya with the Joyous family, and this is Jerry, and we are talking about anonymity. We're going to get to step 2, but we're talking about anonymity right now. And so we're giving you the option to ask questions in an anonymous way instead of putting your name out on Facebook, because we would love to hear from you. And so we're talking about step 2, the Joyous family. We're a family in recovery. And step 2 is?
Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And actually, it's actually the 11th principle, the tradition rather. Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. My understanding was that the original idea was that if someone was going to try and promote this program, that they would try and remain anonymous in case that they relapsed, and then you would have the public say, oh, well, obviously that doesn't work because Jerry went back out. If it had worked, then he wouldn't go out. So yeah, anonymity is a spiritual foundation, is a cornerstone of the program, and it's highly respected. Interestingly enough, a lot of times I'll feel more at home with my recovery group, which is full of a bunch of very hurt, wounded, not always, but a lot of times full of very broken people. And I'll feel more trust and security as far as anonymity and what that I say would remain confidential than I do with my church congregation. No, nothing personal, KCC, but it's the truth. Not always, and one of the things that I was told early on in recovery was it's not worth the risk to share anything in a group that you're not willing to have become public. Because if somebody was to betray that trust, you lean over a little bit, you're getting cut off. If somebody was to betray your trust and it caused you to not want to come to group anymore, that's not worth the price.
So we're talking about step 2. We have a little video on this Facebook page about step 1, and we're doing it from different sides. I'm a codependent, and so my choice is more relationship addiction and to marry people who have addiction, and so that's where I'm coming from. And
Lucky for me.
Step 2 is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, and that's always been a precious step to me, because it meant I didn't have to do it all. And for a long time, I felt like I was responsible for the world. I felt like I needed to take care of everybody. And that's where the codependent gets into trouble, because they don't lead their own lives. They spend their time leading everybody else's life. But if I believe that there's a power greater than myself, and in Celebrate Recovery, we do use Jesus Christ. If I believe there's a power greater than myself, then I can release that to that power and not have to do everything. I was just writing on a blog about oftentimes people with mind control issues need to keep an absolutely perfect house because they feel like that's one area they can control. But it is so misleading that this perfect house means that my perfect life is all together. So a power greater than myself means that I can let go of some of these things, and that I can say things aren't going to get done the way I wanted. We wanted to do this video yesterday. We wanted to have them on Monday night.
I want to be take up the whole camera screen too, and I'm not able to do that.
Well, if you set up a little bit more, you can be a little bit more. So, came to believe that a power greater than yourself could what?
Restore us to sanity. So to me, not to disqualify or invalidate anything that Tanya said, but to me, I kind of think about this more along the lines of it's very important for me to not be the one who's got the reins, the one who can fix myself. You know, when I wanted to when I wanted to be sane and I wanted to have control over my choices, I tried things, you know, like drink less, only drink beer, only drink on the weekends, and I tried things like that to limit and to become more normalized. And I didn't have the ability to do it. I had lost my ability to regulate. So part of the recovery process and early on in it is the idea that I can't do this alone. I need help, and I need help from a power that's greater than myself. You know, originally it was Jesus. Then it became, they toned down the Jesus thing a little bit to try and appeal to more people. And now we're kind of, with Celebrate Recovery and other recovery groups, we're coming back, and the Oxford group is still around, we're coming back to the Jesus principle. And yeah, go ahead.
But in Al-anon groups, and I imagine in AA groups, the power greater than yourself could be anything from the group to whatever you believe is greater than yourself. For most people, it's just getting them out of the self-focus. Because when we become so enmeshed in our own understanding of what the world is, we often miss reality. There are a lot of other things going on out there outside of us, but we've just decided it's all about us. So that really moves you toward, I've got to see a bigger picture, because what we're really working on is, as we talked about with step one, that our lives have become unmanageable. So how do we bring manageability back into our lives? And again, I was trying to live somebody else's life instead of living my life. It's kind of like when the child steps on your feet and you dance around with the child on your feet. That's great if they're 3, sometimes even if they're 5. But if you're trying to do that with another adult partner, it doesn't work. You're trying to dance on their feet instead of using your own 2 feet. And so the power greater than myself allowed me to get outside myself, allowed me to turn some things over, and my group was very conscientious about keeping me aware that I couldn't do it all. And now I don't even want that kind of responsibility. But at the time, I wanted to be able to control everything and to make judgments about everybody.
Put that on your 4th step.
I do need to put that on my 4th. We will talk about the 4th step eventually, but right now we're really talking about step 2. We are a family in recovery. We've been recovering for quite some time now, and what we really wanted to do, one of our purposes and services in life, is to say, hey, we made it out. There's nothing any more special about us than anybody else. God loves all of us, and you can too. We want to give you some hope, because it was a long, hard process, and I think we hear more about marriages and families that fail than we hear about marriages and families that make it through the recovery process and continue to work through that. And so in step 2, looking at a power greater than ourselves really creates that larger picture of the world. The power greater than yourself could be the family itself, that the family unit is important enough for you to get well. And that was a big piece for me in looking at, when I was blessed with my first child, I realized that I needed to get healthier, and I needed to look at how to raise this baby in a whole manner. And so I couldn't continue being the person I was and raise this baby in a healthy manner. I needed to turn my life and my will over to the care of God as I understood Him, which is step 3, but you have to get to step 2 first to be able to do that.
Unless you're in the Oxford group, because if you're in the Oxford group, we go right from 1 to 4.
Oh, well, I didn't know about that.
I think that's right. My sponsor gave me homework to study up on that. So if you're watching right now, I did some of that.
He's been talking about it ever since. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I was kind of, there's some really cool stuff. The 12 by 12 of AA has got some really good stuff in here, and all of the steps, and it's so condensed and so unconfrontational through the whole thing. But anyway, I was just looking for, I'll wait for Tanya to go back and do some more talking before I dig into here a little bit more. You know, personally, I've known a lot of people in recovery who really struggle with step 2, and I don't know if they were been wounded by the church or they just have very strong scientific convictions against a creator, or a lot of times they can believe in a Gaia type entity, or the gosh, I was listening to that song today, the Buffalo Springfield spirit in the sky kind of idea, or something, but still the struggle with a power greater than themselves kind of calls up a Judaic Jehovah type character, and they really lock up on that one. The same with 3. I personally did not have that issue. My issues came, somewhere between step 3 and 12, or kind of all the way in between those. But 1 and 2 were kind of easy for me. I've never really danced around it. This last time, and I'm going through the steps again with a sponsor, I kind of balked on step 2 a little bit, on the idea of that could restore me to sanity. So, power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. I had no doubt that God could restore me to sanity. And relatively speaking, the amount of sanity and serenity and comfort in my own skin that I have now compared to, say 2008, it's absolutely miraculously different. That could happen by natural causes in that short amount of time. Anyway, I digress. So the idea that God could make me more sane is very feasible to me. It's rational. I can see that. I've seen it before. Why wouldn't he do it again? But somehow, with my cynical nature, there's a tidbit of doubt in my mind that he would. Maybe it's part of his plan that I don't become any more in tune with him. I know it's awkward to even say it, but honestly, there's somewhat of an element of doubt, and it's addressed in the 12 by 12 in step 2.
But don't you think that's doubt in our own sanity? That the idea that we could be sane? One of the reasons why I came to an Al-anon program, one of the reasons why I stepped in and said I need to do this, is I was losing it. I was so desperate. I was yelling at my child. I couldn't control my anger. I couldn't control my depression. And I needed a power greater than myself to help me get out of that. There was no way around it that I was going to be able to pull that out by myself. So I needed to make sure that I was working with somebody who could do better things than I could do. And that's what, when you say came to believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity, just that statement alone can help me take a deep breath and say, you know what? I don't have to do this all by myself. Even when my job is blowing up, or when the family is blowing up, or the car won't start, or there's not enough money in the bank account, I can still step in and trust that the universe, that things work together for good, and that I am not out there alone. And that's just amazingly important to me, especially as we talk about a family in recovery, as folks who are dealing with codependency, alcohol issues, and don't think I wasn't just as sick as somebody who is using drugs. The codependency can sneak up and just...
Sicker, because she wasn't even medicated, so it was bad.
Yeah, I wasn't even medicated. It was worse. Chocolate maybe can just take over your life. It just completely takes over your life, and you're not running your life anymore. You're trying to run everybody else's life, and you're not living at that point. So came to believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity brings that back to a reasonable place, because I was not fun to be around at all. I mean,
This afternoon, you mean?
You're funny. I mean, Jerry didn't want to come home. He worked all the time, or he slept all the time, and some of that was not just because of his use habits, but because I couldn't pull it together. So we're talking about step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. In AA and Al-anon, it does not have to be God. You can make different choices. We know that there are plenty of people who have been wounded by the church, who feel very angry at God. That is no reason not to start working with the 12 steps. There are so many wonderful things that come out of it, even if a Judeo-Christian God is not part of your understanding of the world.
Yeah, let me read you this chapter. So this is on page 27 of the 12 by 12. And it's in the preface here is that somebody's balking on the idea of a higher power greater than themselves, because most people immediately jump to a Judaic figure there, a Judaic deity. So this is only one man's opinion based on his own experience, of course. I must quickly assure you that AA's treated innumerable paths in their quest for faith. If you don't care for the one I've suggested, you'll be sure to discover one that suits you if you only look and listen. Many a man like you has begun to solve the problem by the method of substitution. You can, if you wish, make AA itself your higher power. Here's a very large group of people who have solved their alcohol problem. In this respect, they are certainly a power greater than you. And that, to me, makes a lot of sense. It's not my particular choice, but I think it could work just fine. The whole idea is that I can't do this by myself. I am not the biggest thing in the world. Yeah.
Why can't we do it by ourselves? What do we know?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that sounds rhetorical. What are you gonna...
Well, but what did you come to when you decided you couldn't do it by yourself?
Surrender.
Right, but I decided personally, and he
Is this a
decided,
test?
no, I decided personally, and you decided personally. We hit points where we said, we can't do this by ourselves anymore.
Rock bottom.
If we continue to do it by ourselves, one, we're either going to go crazy, or we're going to, what other people sometimes do is just leave, but
What my sponsor says, and I love this, he says, I was either going to wind up dead or worse. So the traditional saying is, for alcoholics, is I'm going to wind up incarcerated in a mental institution or dead. So the way my sponsor says it, as I was either going to wind up dead or worse, I can completely agree with that.
And so that's when you come to believe that power greater than yourselves can restore you to sanity. And mine would have been, I had visions of, I want off this planet, I can't take care of these children, I can't do this anymore, and leaving might have been part of it, but leaving only means that I take me with me. And so what I was dealing with, I mean, even if we had separated and had not worked all this out and permanently divorced, he's always going to be a part of my kid's life. So, and I'm always going to be a part of his kid's life because they're our kids. So, I mean, there was no escaping it, and I knew that, and so I searched for the higher power and tried to connect with the higher power in a way to give me hope. That's what the 12 steps really do. All 12 steps give you hope, and it's an odd way to look at hope, but if you had not, think of the other part of sanity. Insane is doing the same thing over and over and expecting something different, and so coming to believe in a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity, at least brought some hope that the situation could come into a different plane. It could expand into something that was available for a healthy family relationship. And that's what we looked for with the Joyous family, is there are plenty of stories out there of families falling apart. You can Jerry Springer everything. Can you believe that's a verb?
No, I didn't know that.
But apparently, if you're old enough, you know what Jerry Springer was. So you can Jerry Springer a lot of things. A lot of the reality TV shows are about how bad family life is. We're here telling you that with some work, and as they say in the program, it's a simple program, but it takes a lot of hard work.
What are we talking about in case somebody's just tuning in?
So we're talking about step 2. This is the Joyous family. Came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. And we are a family in recovery. We've been in Al-anon, AA, Celebrate Recovery. We've got our kids working through things. Pre-recovery, because there's a higher likelihood of their codependency or addiction behavior because of who we are. We all teach our kids who we are. So, and we are committed to our Christian faith, and so came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity is for even those days when the car won't start, when you can't get the kids to school on time, when the phone starts ringing at the business, that deep breath to say those things, or the serenity prayer just allows you to step in and say, you know what? I don't have to make all the decisions. I don't have to control the world. And that is part of my dis-ease, is I feel like I have to control everything so that I can stay safe. But
except for presidential elections, then I got to get in there and get my hands in and get that control. Sorry.
Presidential elections just out of control, but we're not really going to talk about that. So we've put up how to send us some email. We would love to talk you through it. We want to keep you anonymous if that's what you want to do, or you can join us on Facebook. We're trying to do these once a week. We didn't succeed on Monday, but...
So is that what we're going to target? We're going to target Monday?
I think I would like to target Monday. What do you think?
At 7 o'clock?
6:30 would be better.
Okay.
We're actually struggling with light, as you can see. So we would love to hear from you. We put up a private email for that, and then you're killing me.
You got any powder? We can powder that.
We can powder that out. We've had a little bit of a rough week, but we're still hanging in there, and we hope you are too. We praise God for this opportunity to come and say, hey, we're no different from anybody else. If we made it out, you can make it out.
That's
too.
For sure. If we can do it, anybody can do it.
Because, man, we had hurts, hang-ups, and habits that could destroy anything, and we still struggle with a significant number. But it has been a journey that has been worthwhile.
And from time to time, I can experience happy, joyous, and free.
We'd like more happy, joyous, and free. That's why we're doing this, because we want to give back. We want to help those who are really stuck, because that's part of the program.
It's a 12th step.
It's the 12th step, to share your spiritual awakening with others. And so, talking about step 2, we'd be happy to have any of your questions. You can send that to us in email and stay anonymous, or you can send that over with the Facebook group. If you have a minute, there's a subscribe button up above you. Hit that subscribe button, because we want to keep doing this, and we want to know what's working for you.
Are we done?
I don't know.
How many people we got watching?
We've had quite a few, but that's not the point. The point is the one. It doesn't matter if we sell to a big audience or a small audience. We're looking for the one who needs to hear it today, who needs to hear that there is a power greater than yourself, who can restore you to sanity when your life is totally unmanageable, completely out of control. We should do stick figures.
No, you think about it too. There's probably somebody out there right now who's going, I made the worst mistake. Oh my gosh, I'm never going to get over this. I'm never going to forget it. And then they turn this on and they're like, wow, at least I'm not them. They're going to totally regret this later. You know what I mean?
What, doing the live?
Yeah, exactly.
Possibly. We threw it out a little bigger this time.
I thought I was dumb, and here's these guys out there. Wow.
Well, and you can go to the Joyous family. It's up at the top of the screen. You can click over there and read some more of our story. We've got some other blogs going on. We're hoping to have that up a little bit more. But this is part of our service. This is part of what we feel called to do, that I, at 2 a.m. in the morning, wanted happy family stories, and there weren't a lot of happy family stories, and so we'd like to put that out there, that step 2 is something that we are learning daily to live our lives by. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, and we can even remind each other of that sometimes in the heat of the moment. And the latest thing we've been doing is trying to make sure we pray together in the morning before we step out the door, and that's about just seeing just touching base with each other before we move on with our day, and to ask God to intervene in our lives. So came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And that leads back to step 1, because our lives have become unmanageable. And sometimes you don't even get there until you're just so desperate you don't know which way to turn anymore.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
You got any more?
No, I mean, not really. I think we're gonna go into step 3 next week. Is that right?
We're going into step 3 next week. We would like to do it on Monday. If you subscribe above, it will tell you that we're coming on. You don't have to watch us, but it'll tell you that we're coming on if you want to watch us. So we are the Joyous Family, joyousfamily.com. You can hop over there. We've got some silly videos. We've got some more on the 12 steps. But the biggest thing we've got right now is a resource list by the Changing Lives Foundation. Yeah, it's fantastic. They gifted it to me. I did a review on their book of Why Don't They Just Quit, which is that's one of the first books that I started with, and it's super. And the resource list on the website is just, it's amazing. It will tell you all kinds of things. And we're going to talk more about resources. We're trying to work through the steps, and then we'll talk a little bit more about resources. So thanks for watching. We really appreciate you being here. I'm trying to figure out how to upload these on the YouTube. They're not coming out as well as I would like, but we'd love to hear your questions. I put on there the email address. You can email them to us if you want to remain anonymous. We will honor that. Or you can always pop them up on the Facebook. You can private message me too. So love to hear from you. And thank you so much for watching. We've been having a good time doing it. We're a little tired this week, but we've been having a good time doing it too.
Okay, we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.